Hey there, welcome to School of Emo, the podcast where we dive into the world of emo, pop punk, and everything in between. If you've ever found yourself in your car screaming the lyrics to Taking Back Sunday, wearing way too much eyeliner in the early 2000s, adding a buckle or a chain to every outfit you've put on, you are in the right place. I'm Erin Judge, and each week I will be your fellow student, guiding you through the music, the culture, and the history that shaped an entire generation of angsty teens. I am not the teacher of this school. I am a fellow student, here to learn alongside you and from you. Together, we will cover a lot of information that doesn't really matter, but will remind us of the days of stalking MySpace channels and getting lost in chat rooms. So connect your dial-up, turn on your webcam, and let's go to School of Emo. Welcome back to School of Emo. Today we are going into the pop punk leaders of the late 90s into the 2000s. Still one of the most iconic names in pop punk history, and that is Blink-182. And we're actually going to start the year I was born, 1992, in Poway, I don't know how you say it, California, which is a suburb of San Diego. So off to the West Coast, where the skateboarders and surfers were leading this pop punk, post-punk scene. We've talked about Green Day with the history of pop punk and how it overlaps with emo. Green Day kind of paved the way for Blink-182 right at this perfect period of time where garage bands were all the rage. And we had Tom DeLonge meeting Mark Hoppus through Tom's sister. Apparently, legend has it that Mark was climbing a lamppost to impress Tom. It worked. They became besties and they started playing music together, pulling in drummer Scott Rayner, who did not stay with him forever. We'll get to that, but was the beginning of Blink. Now, they actually did start with the name Blink. That's what they wanted. However, there was a legal demand from their record label early on, Cargo Records, to change their original name because there was already an Irish techno group that had the same name. So they didn't want to clash with that, have any legal issues from the name. And so they procrastinated for way too long, figuring out what name to choose instead, and ended up just blurting out randomly the number 182 to the end of Blink, meaning Blink 182. The band has made up many stories over the years of why they added 182 and what that could mean, including a reference to the number of times that Al Pacino said the F word in the movie Scarface. But they've confirmed many times that it's just a random figure. And Tom DeLonge, in an interview quote, said, "The number means nothing. We just needed to add something so we didn't get sued." Now, early on, they made their way into music through the skate punk scene. Their sounds were, it was loud, it was fast, irreverent, continues to be today. And in 1995, they released their debut album, Cheshire Cat, showcasing the work they had been doing for the past few years. This album was rough and fast. It was definitely that SoCal punk with a DIY ethos behind it, which we saw in that punk scene around that time, and gave us songs like Carousel, M&Ms, and Wasting Time. It was cheap. It was recorded cheaply, and it had that signature Tom nasally tone that the band would be known for. One thing about Blink 182 that we'll continue to get into through each little era and album is that the lyrics always are stronger and have more depth to them than you would think at the face value of the song. I think it's something they do very well, which is very much a teenage punk kind of approach, especially a teenage boy approach. And so we're going to go through a lot of lyrics just to showcase that a little bit more. So starting with the first album, Carousel. I talk to you every now and then. I never felt so alone again. I stop to think at a wishing well. My thoughts send me on a carousel. Here I am standing on my own, not in motion from the telephone. I know not a reason why, solitude's a reason to die. Just you wait and see. As school life is it is a woken dream. Aren't you feeling alone? I guess it's just another, I guess it's just another, I guess it's just another night alone. Now, as I walk down the street, I need a job just to sleep in sheets, buying food every once in a while, but not enough to purchase a smile. A tank of gas is a treasure to me. I know now that nothing is free. I talk to you every now and then. I never felt so alone again. Just you wait and see, as school life it is a woken dream. Aren't you feeling alone? I guess it's just another, I guess it's just another, I guess it's just another night alone. So, highlighting how the lyrics can be very emo, vulnerable, raw, very introspective, kind of hitting into the emo vibe of that time, but covered in this kind of teen boy humor and kind of faster sound that kind of works a bit like a shield or a mask to those deeper emotions, which is very pop punk. So they blended the two, I think, very well and in such a unique way. Green Day was doing it too. We see this in a lot of the post punk and the earlier pop punk sounds, but doing this in such like a rough around the edges, less from a hardcore standpoint, but from like the stupid humor, silliness standpoint that was unique to Blink. So after this album, a few years later, 1997, they signed to MCA Records and they released one of their biggest breakthroughs, which was Dude Ranch. Mark Hoppus and Tom DeLonge were dealing with vocal strain. Drummer Scott Rayner was dealing with foot injuries. So that created a lot of production difficulties, but the album was a pretty decent success and achieved gold certification in February of the following year and featured their first rock radio hit, Damn It, which blew up. So this was the pop punk sound that defined the late 90s. It was heavy on MTV. This song and Blink as a whole was just perfectly suited for MTV. Warp Tour sets included it. It was hot during that time. And teens everywhere began to take on the ethos of the band and the song with Dickie Shorts and talk about how growing up sucked. No one wanted to grow up, which was the heart of their sound and continued to kind of be a thread throughout their future albums. So going into Damn It lyrics, it's all right to tell me what you think about me. I won't try to argue or hold it against you. I know that you're leaving. You must have your reasons. The season is calling. Your pictures are falling down. The steps that I retrace, the sad look on your face, the timing and structure. Do you hear? He fucked her. A day late, a buck short. I'm writing the report on losing and failing. When I move, I'm flailing now. And it's happened once again. I'll turn to a friend, someone who understands and sees through the master plan. But everybody's gone, and I've been here for too long to face this on my own. Well, I guess this is growing up. And maybe I'll see you at a movie sneak preview. You'll show up and walk by on the arm of that guy, and I'll smile and you'll wave. We'll pretend it's okay. This charade, it won't last. When he's gone, I won't come back. And it'll happen once again. You'll turn to a friend, someone who understands and sees through the master plan. But everybody's gone, and you've been here far too long to face this on your own. Well, I guess this is growing up. A lot of what we were all feeling at the time. And that is why Blink very quickly began to kind of be the sound of the generation. I remember being in, early years of middle school, like singing these songs at the top of my lungs. Did I understand them fully? Absolutely not. But it was that feeling of coming of age. And, we've talked about it with the emo waves of, the things that we dealt with in the early 2000s, after these songs had been around for a little while, and how we grew up in that era of like digging into what we were feeling, but not really knowing how to express it. A lot of bands filled that void, and Blink was one of them. And quickly, with this album, became a little bit more commercially available. But of course, that did blow up even more in the next era, but not before things got a bit shaky behind the scenes. So after Dude Ranch, Scott Rayner had struggled with alcohol use and personal issues, which led to tensions within the band. And then he was kicked out mid tour in 1998. So that is where we got Travis Barker. At the time, he was drumming for the Aquabats and he filled in for a Blink show kind of randomly and completely killed it. He learned the entire set list. I think it was like a 20-minute set list. And he learned it in 45 minutes on a bus. And he mentioned in an interview, I just didn't want to go back to the Aquabats. So he put everything he had into it, showcased his talents, and kind of brought together sort of the missing piece of the puzzle for Blink with Tom and Mark on vocals and with guitars and bass. And then we had Travis bringing something different to the drums, which really gave them even more of that punk energy to the sound with the faster beats and kind of the changing rhythms and on all the things that we would come to know Blink as. With Travis on board, we were able to have a completely different Blink 182 that gave precision and speed to enhance and give them more professionalism to their sound. And that led to, in 1999, Enema of the State, which is the album that launched them into stardom and like really took off to make them everything that they are today. It went triple platinum. It was on MTV every day. TRL dominated. We found shirtless Mark naked running through the streets, all the iconic moments, even the nurse with the blue gloves on the cover continuing to be a repeat festival outfit, but also Halloween outfit. And the album title actually came from a real life incident where Tom DeLonge experienced digestive issues on tour and was helped by the band's tour manager. If you know what an enema is, as myself, a dietitian who works in the GI space, it goes up your butt. And so that's what the nurse is doing with the glove. So read between the lines of what may have happened on that tour experience for Tom, but gave us this very iconic album that came with songs like All the Small Things, What's My Age Again, and Adam's Song becoming generational anthems. This was the era where Blink went from skate kids to pop culture icons. They were everywhere. Now, these were my middle school days. I have a VHS tape home video somewhere. I need to go find it of me in a mini skirt, one of those little stretchy shirts that looks like it fits like a doll, and then you put it on and it looks crazy, like multiple bright colors, crazy makeup, my hair all done, lip actually singing like karaoke style as if I was like on American Idol to this song. And it is so embarrassing because I had a bit of a lisp and I did not have any change in my vocal tone the entire time. But I thought I was the coolest person in the entire world. I thought I was a hot little middle schooler. And I sang it with such conviction that now I look back on and roll my eyes at. But that is what it looked like to live through the 90s into the early 2000s, pre-internet. Thank God it's not on the internet. But that was life. And that's an experience, whether you were an emo scene kid or not. Blink fit somewhere in the middle and became part of what we listened to in our soundtrack to our day. It was that played at school, was on TRL after school. It was put into TV shows, like was part of our lives. And even if it was pretty abrasive in a lot of ways. And I'm not going to do All the Small Things lyrics because I think those are fun. We know those. But I want to focus more on Adam's song because this was actually pretty controversial at the time due to the lyrics referencing suicide. This was written by Mark after he was struggling with depression during touring, thought to maybe be about someone that they knew, but it became really meaningful for fans, and became a reference for many fans not moving forward with plans they had and living instead. And just became kind of an anchor for a lot of people, which we see in the emo space. One of their most emo songs that they have, one of my favorite songs ever. So, looking at those lyrics, I never thought I'd die alone. I laughed the loudest, who'd have known? I traced the cord back to the wall. No wonder it was never plugged in at all. I took my time. I hurried up. The choice was mine. I didn't think enough. I'm too depressed to go on. You'll be sorry when I'm gone. I never conquered, rarely came. 16 just held such better days. Days when I still felt alive. We couldn't wait to go outside. The world was wide, too late to try. The tour was over, we'd survived. I couldn't wait till I got home to pass the time in my room alone. I never thought I'd die alone. Another 6 months, I'll be unknown. Give all my things to all my friends. You'll never step foot in my room again. You'll close it off, board it up. Remember the time that I spilled the cup of apple juice in the hall. Please tell mom this is not her fault. I never conquered, rarely came. 16 just held such better days. Days when I still felt alive. We couldn't wait to get outside. The world was wide, too late to try. The tour was over, we'd survived. I couldn't wait till I got home to pass the time in my room alone. I never conquered, rarely came. Tomorrow holds such better days. Days when I can still feel alive, when I can't wait to get outside. The world is wide, the time goes by, the tour is over, I'll survive. And I can't wait till I get home to pass the time in my room alone. This was one of the most serious songs at the time released by Blink and really showcased that past the fart jokes, the stupid commentary, like the silly boys on stage showing off how comfortable they were with each other as friends. That beneath that, there was pain, there was experiences that a lot of us could relate to at that time and even throughout life as we all have gotten older. And that is a thread that does continue throughout the albums. I think a lot of people see Blink at face value as being really stupid, but when you actually get into some of the songs that may be the top songs, may not be the top songs in each of their albums, you're going to see some of that pain behind it, just like the emotional vulnerability of our favorite emo bands. So now we're in the early 2000s, 2001. Blink is on the top of the world. They are at the top of charts. They are known by everyone. They are superstars of that time. And their next album, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, which is a pun, of course, debuts at number one, building off of that stardom of Enema of the State. This album is peak Blink-182. It's rebellious, it's melodic, it's funny. There's more emo undertones. We have songs like First Date, The Rock Show. We also have Stay Together for the Kids, a lot of dynamic changes, both in the lyricism, but also in the beats and the speed of the music and how it feels. We get a more grown-up version of Mark and Tom, no longer teens, but kind of figuring out early adulthood. They're starting to write about the reality of divorce, loneliness, and disillusionment, which are all themes that hit teens really hard in the early 2000s, right? This is right around 9/11's happening around this time, right? This is where the emo scene began to shift and really take off in that second to third wave. This is all happening within the pop punk space as well. Digging into some of those lyrics, Stay Together for the Kids, we're going to keep it sad. It's hard to wake up when the shades have been pulled shut. This house is haunted. It's so pathetic. It makes no sense at all. I'm ripe with things to say. The words rot and fall away. What stupid poem could fix this home? I'd read it every day. So here's your holiday. Hope you enjoy it this time. You gave it all away. It was mine. So when you're dead and gone, will you remember this night? 20 years now lost. It's not right. Their anger hurts my ears. Been running strong for 7 years. Rather than fix the problems, they never solve them. It makes no sense at all. I see them every day. We get along, so why can't they? If this was what he wants and it's what she wants, then why is there so much pain? So here's your holiday. Hope you enjoy it this time. You gave it all away. It was mine. So when you're dead and gone, will you remember this night? 20 years now lost. It's not right. This was the era of non-stop touring, non-stop interviews, collaborations, everything. This was also the time celebrity stardom was huge. The internet was being introduced beyond MTV and TRL. Now we had MySpace, LiveJournal, all the things there, chat rooms, fandom, craziness. We also had tabloids and celebrities being ripped apart every single day and in the spotlight more than ever. And this is where the emo pop punk scene was at its rising to its height, meaning every band had to be there, be on, be present. Warp Tour was going crazy, taking up entire summers. Bands like Sum 41, New Found Glory, Good Charlotte, all rising. But Blink was still considered the scene for pop punk. They were the leaders, they were the model that so many bands were looking to hit and to become. And that led us to 2003 with the self-titled album where everything began to change. So we sort of lost the poop jokes and some of the teenage stupidity. We also lost the nonstop upbeat sound and instead got more of an atmospheric, experimental, and emotional album, different from what they had done before, trying to showcase a bit of maturity and like a different style. This came with songs like I Miss You, Feeling This, Down, showcasing that mature Blink 182 that would define the next era of the 2000s. It's influenced by Tom's work with Boxcar Racer, as well as Travis's drumming style. And a lot of people noted around this time that the band's dynamic kind of began to shift. So before we get into some of those changes and what comes next, we have to go through the lyrics of I Miss You. Hello there, the angel from my nightmare, the shadow in the background of the morgue, the unsuspecting victim of darkness in the valley. We can live like Jack and Sally if we want. Where you can always find me, and we'll have Halloween on Christmas. And in the night, we'll wish this never ends. We'll wish this never ends. I miss you. Where are you? And I'm so sorry. I cannot sleep. I cannot dream tonight. I need somebody, and always this sick, strange darkness comes creeping on, so haunting every time. And as I stare, I counted the webs from all the spiders, catching things and eating their insides. Like indecision to call you and hear your voice of treason. Will you come home and stop this pain tonight? Don't waste your time on me. You're already the voice inside my head. Don't waste your time on me. You're already the voice inside my head. I miss you. This album, self-titled, is often seen as their most emo work as a collective. They have stripped back verses, emotional lyrics, more of a gothic music video aesthetic, kind of front to end, definitely more emo than their previous work. Still a very commercialized version of that, but definitely more in the emo space than just that pure pop punk. But behind the scenes, while it seemed like they were creating something new that would be more mature and grounded, tensions were growing within the band. Tom had a family at the time and really wanted to spend more time with his family. A lot of side projects he wanted to spend time on. Mark and Travis wanted to tour, keep going with that energy. And so by 2005, Blink announced an indefinite hiatus. And for fans, this was completely devastating because this band was at the top of the game, right at the top of the emo pop punk scene as a whole. A quote from Tom in 2005 was, I need time to live my life and be a father. This isn't goodbye forever. So, what did the fans do? Some turned to Plus 44, which was Mark and Travis's band, or Angels and Airwaves, which was Tom's band and side project, to fill the void. The emo kids were still connected in part of it and still connected to the band through their other projects, even if touring and like the band and the collective they had had before wasn't all together. And we have to talk a little bit about Angels and Airwaves because I think the emo kids that were following Blink 182 definitely had a draw to Angels and Airwaves. To me, I love Blink 182. I will always be a Blink fan, but Angels and Airwaves, the sound, so good. And I remember hearing The Adventure and even seeing it on like One Tree Hill around this time. But the sound, it's so different. And even Tom's voice, like you still get that kind of nasally, sound, but it's different in Angels and Airwaves. Definitely sounds more true emo, less intense and less punky, less poppy, and has like more of kind of a true emo root to it, but really showcased Tom's lyricism that he brought to Blink, but without that kind of shield and the facade on it that we got with a lot of the Blink music and style. And it's still some of my favorite work. So I'm glad that he's continued, working through this and putting out music with Angels and Airwaves. But maybe this a hiatus was responsible for bringing us this. And I'm very grateful for that, even if we got a bit of a pause with Blink. So I will go through The Adventure from Angels and Airwaves lyrics just to showcase how that lyricism has pulled from what we saw also with Blink and Tom's work through both. I want to have the same last dream again, the one where I wake up and I'm alive. Just as the four walls closed me within, my eyes are opened up with pure sunlight. I'm the first to know, my dearest friends, even if your hope has burned with time, anything that's dead shall be regrown, and your vicious pain your warning sign. You will be fine. Hey, oh, here I am, and here we go. Life's waiting to begin. Any type of love, it will be shown. Like every single tree, reach for the sky. If you're going to fall, I'll let you know that I will pick you up like you for I. I felt this thing I can't replace, that everyone was working for this goal, where all the children left without a trace, only to come back as pure as gold, to recite this song. Hey, oh, here I am, and here we go. Life's waiting to begin tonight. In 2008, everything changed again. Travis Barker was in a horrific plane crash that killed four people, with Travis being one of the survivors. He suffered severe burns over 65% of his body, which required him to go through multiple surgeries and skin grafts. And he spent 11 weeks in the hospital. This led to trauma, as you would expect, and post traumatic stress disorder, leading him to have a fear of flying that lasted for over a decade and leading him to really speak out about mental health and depression and overcoming that in years to come, including overcoming substance abuse related to this and before, and his love of running now, as we see with some of the 5K races that he has done, connected to different music festivals and even their tours. A lot of this feeds to this period of his life. And it changed what was going on with Blink during that hiatus. So shook the band to their core and brought them all back together. So Tom reached out to Mark and Travis, who were already kind of still working together right through Plus 44, and they reunited publicly at the 2009 Grammy Awards, sharing that Blink is back, Travis in the sling and all. And Mark said in a quote about this time, it was a tragedy that brought us back together, but we knew we had more music to make. And that led us to 2011, where we got Neighborhoods, a darker, more fragmented album, mostly because the band was recording it separately from each other. So it was a little disjointed, but it was the start of their comeback and defining what their sound would be. And it wasn't really their tightest era they had, but fans were happy that they were back. This actually brought me one of my favorite songs that I love, which is After Midnight. I can't get my feet up off the edge. I kind of like the little rush you get when you're standing close to death, like when you're driving me crazy. Hold on as we crash into the earth. A bit of pain will help you suffer when you're hurt for real because you were driving me crazy. Bite your lips, your words a robbery. Do you grin inside? You're killing me. All along, we talked of forever. I kind of think that we won't get better. It's the longest start, but the end's not too far away. Did you know I'm here to stay? We'll stagger home after midnight, sleep arm in arm in the stairwell. We'll fall apart on the weekend. These nights go on and on and on. I can't keep your voice out of my head. All I hear are the many echoes of the darkest words you said, and it's driving me crazy. I can't find the best in all of this, but I'm always looking out for you because you're the one I miss, and it's driving me crazy. Bite your lips, your words are robbery. Do you grin inside? You're killing me. All along, we talked of forever. I kind of think that we won't get better. It's the longest start, but the end's not too far away. Did you know I'm here to stay? We'll stagger home after midnight, sleep arm in arm in the stairwell. We'll fall apart on the weekend. These nights go on and on and on. We'll stagger home after midnight, sleep arm in arm in the stairwell. We'll fall apart on the weekend. These nights go on and on and on. Then comes tension once again. And in 2015, Tom officially leaves the band again. But instead of Blink 182 taking a full break with Tom gone, they brought in Matt Skiba from Alkaline Trio to fill his space. What was kind of going on behind the scenes with Tom is he was diagnosed with skin cancer on his chest, and then later in 2015 was considered cancer free. So he did beat it. And he launched boomerlovesboobies.com to raise money for cancer awareness around this time. So it was dedicated to that space. He also stated leaving the band to focus on his side projects, including some work with UFO phenomena, studying UFOs, and his company To the Stars, which is a merch collab company. So he was leaning more into those side projects. We also had, stuff from the other members as well. We have Travis Barker. I mean, eventually becoming a Kardashian, not quite yet this time, but starting to produce music, lots of collabs for Mark and Tom and Travis. And they were all kind of building other things behind the scenes. Now, was there something else to it beyond Tom wanting to focus on other projects? I think there's a lot of conspiracies a little bit about what all was going on and how these members fit together, with Tom and Mark supposedly being such close friends for such a long time, but him kind of constantly taking breaks from Blink. But this was his longest break. And Matt Skiba kind of fell in and actually worked with the band to produce the next two albums, California in 2016 and Nine in 2019, which gave the band more of a polished pop punk sound, nodding to the old sound, but more of a new era. And fans were divided. Some really loved it and the sound that they had, but others missed Tom and his kind of alien voice, which Matt was not trying to replicate. He brought a different sound, his own sound, to the newer songs. Some of the fan theories around the time, though, were that Tom was still part of it and that he was ghostwriting. They could see Tom in the lyrics, and fans always believed that Tom would be back, that Matt was just temporary, that it was a few years of a shift, but Tom would eventually come back and bring the band back together. And then it happened, of course. In 2022, Tom rejoined Blink 182. Matt was gone. And that led to the release of Edging, a world tour with their comeback, and the One More Time album in 2023. The title track to this is very emotional and reflect back on the shared history of loss and tragedy and how that brought them to get together after the crash for Travis in the mid 2010s. So if you haven't heard it yet, we'll go through those lyrics. Strangers from strangers into brothers, from brothers into strangers once again. We saw the whole world, but I couldn't see the meaning. I couldn't even recognize my friends. Older, but nothing's any different. Right now feels the same. I wonder why. I wish they told us it shouldn't take a sickness or airplanes falling out the sky. Do I have to die to hear you miss me? Do I have to die to hear you say goodbye? I don't want to act like there's tomorrow. I don't want to wait to do this one more time. One more time. I miss you, took time, but I admit it. It still hurts even after all these years. And I know that next time ain't always going to happen. I got to say I love you while we're here. Do I have to die to hear you miss me? Do I have to die to hear you say goodbye? I don't want to act like there's tomorrow. I don't want to wait to do this one more time. One more time. In 2023, with this release, Tom said in an interview, "This band saved my life and it saved itself too," which showcases why the band likely came back together. And that leads to today. They've released kind of a second album of One More Time, which shows they're really in it. They're writing a lot, they're making a lot of music. They've hinted at new music to come. They've been touring kind of nonstop since the release of One More Time. They did a tour with that release in 2024 that kind of led into 2025. They've been on all the top festival lineups over the past 2 years. They're continuing to divide fans. I think what's so interesting right now is seeing, this is kind of the millennial versus Gen Z debate. But, as millennials, we grew up with that like stupid humor, and comedy could be really dumb and a little bit offensive, right? Jarring comedy is kind of the thing of the 90s and the early 2000s. Whereas today, that kind of comedy doesn't always do super well. And people are very quick to criticize it. And what we're seeing with all the festivals of Blink 182 is some of the younger fans finally experiencing Blink and expecting them to be a lot more mature because of their age. But on stage, they are not. There is still the stupid jokes. Like they're going to talk about their penises throughout the show. Like it's just who they are. And a lot of people have been offended by that. And it's interesting to see that. It's interesting to see that discourse online. But at the end of the day, Blink is Blink, and the music itself stands alone. The performance of the band and who they are and their stupidity as friends, like that also showcases who they are. And that's just what you get with their shows, which I can definitely appreciate because truly, not a lot of bands have lasted 3 decades and as many albums as they have. And yeah, there were fallouts. Yeah, there were good times and bad times, but the band has stayed at the top of the scene. And even with One More Time, like they're producing music that is some of the best that they've ever made. And they're still in it. They're still selling out arenas, which you can't say for all the bands of that time, especially in the emo or pop punk scene. Not a lot of bands have icon status like Blink 182. And yeah, they've done things to keep themselves relevant. I think that that's a good marketing choice because they are so unique. And even Travis being one of the Kardashians, and it's part of it. And I think it does keep them relevant in the scene. But they also seem to be staying true to who they are, and their sound has been true to who they are throughout all the decades, which again, I definitely appreciate as a fan of the music and of the band. And ultimately, they've showed us that it's okay to not always grow up. It's okay to not take life so seriously because, as the lyrics show, life is very serious. Life can be very hard. It can be very sad. It can be very frustrating. A lot of loss can come. And so, not taking yourself so seriously is a way to cope and get through that. So, if you need that, then I encourage you to go back and listen to all the albums of Blink. I'm a Tom fan, so I will say the albums with Tom, but you can also explore the Skiba era and see what you think about that. And if you have anything that you want to share about the evolution of Blink 182, their stories, the band members, if you are more Team Tom or Team Nat, which eras you liked the most, please share. If you're on YouTube, sharing in the comments is a great way to interact. And have a conversation with everyone else watching this and engaging. You can also share on the podcast itself. Leave a review, leave the 5 stars, please, but share your thoughts in that if you would like to in that discourse. And if you'd like to come on the podcast and share about a band you love, an era of music that you love, if you want to talk about any of the bands we've already talked about in your perspective or your experiences with them, I more than welcome you on the podcast. Just go to the show notes, check out my email address there, email me, and we will get that set up so that you can then be the teacher of School of Emo or just sharing with the class as a fellow student. So do your homework, go listen to some Blink 182, and I will see you back next week as we talk about another band that blends together a bit of this kind of pop mainstream touch with the post-punk emo energy, and that is Story of the Year. We are starting the prep for the Emo's Not Dead cruise that is coming up in January. And so we are going to start going through all the bands. Story of the Year is one of my favorite bands live, so I cannot wait. So go listen to Blinked for now, and then I'll see you in our next class for Story of the Year.